Hi, welcome to the Grype podcast. In this podcast, we learn how to grow mission-driven organizations. I'm your host Farhad Khan, CEO of Grype. We are a digital agency and we help professional associations grow their membership with digital marketing and by building membership portals. If you want to grow the membership of your professional association, please take a look at the workshops on our website at grype.ca/workshops. That is grype.ca/workshops. In this episode, we speak to Denise Amyot. Denise is the President and CEO of Colleges and Institutes Canada, and Denise has had several leadership roles, high-profile leadership roles in the past, and including her current role at the Colleges and Institutes Canada. So today we will hear from Denise why providing ongoing training for your team members at your organization is so important for the business, and what are some of the resources that you can use to provide the trainings. Denise, thank you so much for joining us on our podcast today. Can you start by telling us a bit about yourself and what you do?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your invitations, Fahad. So I'm the President, CEO of Colleges and Institutes Canada. It's a national association of all the colleges, institutes, cégeps, polytechnics, as well as 15 universities that have a college mandate. And we work on advocacy, for example. We work on capacity building and on knowledge mobilization. And of course, for us, it's important to work hand in hand with the business sector.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so you ask also to tell you a little bit about myself. So I had a very interesting career in the government of Canada. When I finished, I was the assistant deputy ministers of 3 different departments, and at the end, I was the CEO of a federal crown agency. And I have to say, I had the opportunity to work with very interesting people throughout my career, which I started in education. So for me, it's like if I'm going back to my roots.
That's fantastic. So Denise, why is it so important for businesses to provide ongoing training for their employees?
Oh my God, by where do we start, Fahad? Businesses, no matter how big they are, they need a skilled workforce if they want to be competitive and if they want to succeed. The only way to ensure a skilled workforce is to ensure employees are hired with the standard skills that the industry needs, but very important, prepared to learn, upskilled and reskill as demands change. So no matter what will be the next disruptive technology or event happens to be, one thing is for certain: changes will continue to occur in the labor market because of new technologies, and those changes will happen no matter what, and they will be exponentially faster. And whether you look at this from the perspective of the business, of the worker, of the student, the issue is one of learning and adapting in an increasingly dynamic environment.
Right. Denise, I work with a lot of professional associations who kind of go through similar challenges that the world is moving along, but they do not adopt new technology. They do not train all of their team members, I guess, adequately. Why do you think there is a reluctance for businesses to invest in training?
Sometimes they are afraid, unfortunately, that if they train their staff, they may go somewhere else. Sometimes it's a matter of funding. Sometimes it's a matter of time because they are so busy But at the end of the day, when you train in your people, when you train in your staff, you invest in your company. Because you invest in them, they will want to stay with you. They will want to continue to contribute because they will feel they are learning with you as an employer.
Denise, so you mentioned that there are a number of reasons why businesses may not actually want to train their team members. One of them being like employees might leave if they are trained, if they're skilled enough, or there's a lack of funding. So say if we can plan the training in a proper way so that the employee can continue to grow within his own role in the same organization, then how would you identify the training needs?
Okay, this is a fabulous question, Fahad, because in fact, that's why colleges and institutes are there for. They are there to accompany the employers in identifying what is the best way to support them in training their employees. So, for example, our colleges can help you to develop training for 1 hour. They could help you to develop it for 1 day, for 1 month, for 2 months, for 3 weeks. It all depends on what is your need. And our institutions, our members, they are used to work with, in fact, employers to support them in the training that they need, and then they can tailor it to the local needs, to the specific needs that the business, the businesses will have.
All right. Denise, can you tell us a bit more about like how the post-secondary institutions like colleges and institutes are actually providing trainings like this?
It's very, very easy. Sometimes it can be through the continuing education. Sometimes it's because the business sector, for example, will realize that there will be a shift in the labor market workforce. And it's a good way to work jointly with the colleges to say, look, we will have a lot of people, for example, that will be retiring in our sector. Could you help us to ensure that we have a good relève that is coming? What the skills that we are looking for are A, B, C, D, and then by working with our members, then sometimes you identified not only A, B, C, D, E, but maybe F and G. And so they can adapt. They adapt to the specific needs, to the time that you have. And what is important is to establish what are those competencies that are important to develop. And then our people, they are used to do that. That's why they have specialists in training that can help and support the flexible learning, because sometimes it could be things that are done online, it could be things that are done in the workplace, it could be things that are done at the college itself. And we have a very large diversity of degrees, of certificates, but also thousands. In fact, I was calculating, and I think it's more than 1 million of short courses that exist across the country that can be used for employers, because upskilling and reskilling, it's part of what we do. And upskilling and reskilling, it's key to lifelong learning. And so we are used to support learners in this journey.
Right. So what you're saying is that a lot of the trainings that the colleges and institutes provide, they're very customized and tailored to the needs of businesses. I haven't actually heard of that before at all. So there was one time I had to send one of my team members to trainings. We sent her to a project management training. And after finishing the training, we realized that that was not the right training we needed. I didn't even know that we could talk to the instructors and design a course that would be like fit for the person. So can you tell us a bit more about like how do colleges work with businesses to create the tailored courses?
Absolutely. It's interesting, Fahad, that you use the example of project management, because myself as an association, I'm also an employer. I also have staff. And in fact, we approached one of the college in this area about 2 years ago because we wanted to have a course on project management, but we wanted it tailor-made to our needs. So we approached Algonquin College, in fact, to help us to develop such a course for us. And we had about 15 of our staff that were able to take advantage of it. And now we're thinking about having another group of employees to take it. So approach your local college, because they will be there to help you to customize it specifically to your needs. And what they could do, sometimes they may use something that is already prepared, but they will tailor it to your specific needs. Whether it is because you do project management at the international level, or whether it's project management that is more oriented towards sustainable development, they will be able to adapt it specifically to your needs.
Right. So is there a need for a minimum number of like people who will need to participate in the training? For example, if I only need it for 2 people, I don't think Algonquin College will probably create a course only for 2 people, is it?
Correct. Doubtfully. That said, they have a big variety of offering. So maybe La Cité or Algonquin College, if we only talked about the 2 that are here, or what they may do. They may tell you about another course that exists, and then if you need something supplementary, they may look at, or there are other employers that could be interested in the exact thing that you are talking about, so that this could be provided for more than one employer, because sometimes we do that also. We're there as the college, is always listening to the needs of the community, and they may know of other employers that could be interested. I just look at COVID-19, okay? If we looked at, there were specific needs that were urgent, if you want. And colleges very, very quickly started to offer those options, sometimes online, most of the time online, in fact, because of physical distanciation. And but never forget that that's why colleges are there. They are there to support their community. And I'll give you an example of something that colleges do, and many people are not aware. And in fact, it could interest some of your audience, is that every single program that is being taught in this country, every single one, no matter which province, no matter which territory, no matter which city, if it is a public college, what will happen is that there will always be what we call a program advisory committee. That program advisory committee is made up of people from the community, so people that are employers. And what they do, they provide advice on the program. So they will provide advice on competencies. They will provide advice on equipment. On internship, they will provide advice on labor market information. They will say, is it going up? Is it going down? And this is why our programs are so much sought after, and why the job placement of our students, our graduates, is so high, because it means that our students, when they go on the labor market, they literally hit the ground running.
Nice, nice. So, what you're saying is that if we do have a need for a specific type of training or a course, don't be shy to reach out to the local colleges to see what programs are there for continuing education. And if they don't have one course already, they'll probably recommend some other course at another university or a college, or they'll create a custom one if there is enough demand for it. So we should reach out.
Absolutely. You know, for us, it's part of our DNA. We are very nimble institutions. We were designed, in fact, to serve the needs of the communities. And we are used to adapt to changes, no matter what is the industry. And the one thing I often say to people when I talk with them, whether it's parliamentarians, senior public officials, or business CEO, right now, 95% of the Canadian population is live within 50 kilometers of a college or an institute. 95% of the population and 86% of Indigenous people. And this proximity is unmatched. Nobody else can say something like that in the post-secondary education sector. And it allows for those big ties, those deep ties, if you want, with local employers and communities. So every single business is near one of our institutions and can benefit, in fact, from partnerships with them.
So how expensive are these trainings with colleges? Are we talking about like hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars?
It depends, because normally the way it works, they would not charge more than they would for their regular course. It all depends on the work that is involved, of course, in developing it. You know, do they have to start something from literally scratch, if you want, or can they adapt a course or a program that already exists? So, for example, when we started with, our members started with cannabis, this was a brand new field. And there was no models. In fact, we even looked in different countries around the world, and there was literally no program that had been developed. So there was one college that started to look at what is it that we can do to serve the community, because of course it meant that there would be a lot of jobs that would exist out there, but without any skills that had been acquired. So that's how our colleges very quickly, in fact, started to offer those programs, and quite successfully. And so we're always in touch with what's the need out there, because no matter which job, there are skills that are needed behind. Sometimes I use an analogy where I say we train everybody, you know, from neonatal care, because we do have a specific courses for nurses in neonatal care, up to thanatology, which is a course or a program in the art of embalming corpses. So we cover the whole gamut.
Wow.
The whole gamut. So I always say to people, give me a field, and we are probably working on it. We're probably training in this field, or if not, I will make sure that we will be in the next few months.
Right, right. So, in the context of one organization, so say I have a number of employees and I'm speaking to my employees and I'm realizing that there may be a need for training for them. Between the employer and the employee, are there certain things that you think we should do to identify the right training needs for the team members?
This is a fabulous question, Fahad. My recommendation very, very often to people is, make sure that you can assess the competencies of your employees. There's a process, all our colleges are equipped to do that, and it's called Prior Learning Assessment Recognition. And what it is the possibility of assessing the competencies of someone in a given field for a specific function. And what we do, we are able to assess that person and then identify the gaps. And what we can do after is ensure that that person can only focus on those gaps or on those areas where they need to develop those skills. So for example, if someone would study, would want to become, I don't know, a data analyst, for example. So you would assess their competencies, and then instead of maybe taking a program that would last 2 years, maybe that person could do a program only for 3 months. And this is certainly something that we always recommend that people do. And it's called PLAR, so Prior Learning Assessment Recognition. And we often encourage employees or individuals that have skills, have competencies, but maybe they do not have the paper, they do not have the certificates that allow them often to change job or to get a better job. So, and if you do your prior learning assessment recognition, then it's very encouraging because you realize you may already have done half of this famous program or 3/4 of it, and you don't have a lot to pursue. And it's an incentive, a big incentive for people.
So this learning assessment, is it available to employers right now, like for free, or do we have to talk to the college to actually get access to the assessments?
It's not free. In fact, we're trying to convince the government that to ensure that the training benefit could also cover prior learning assessment recognition. So maybe employers need to help us to convince the federal government for that. And so, but the cost is not that expensive. What is important is really to ensure that you identified what are those competencies, and it is to exercise which function. And then what we could do, the colleges are well equipped to be able to assess this and to see what is missing.
Right. Right. So I guess businesses don't often dig deep into what are the different possibilities of partnerships with colleges and institutes locally. Like I have not. So can you tell us about a few other ways where how businesses can actually like tap into the innovation that is happening at colleges?
Absolutely. There is one I wish every single businesses, especially SMEs, would know about. And what it is, it's our applied research. I call it sometimes the best kept secret because those that use it often don't share it with others because they want to keep the secret for themselves. So just a couple of years ago, my data are from 1819, and we had over 6,000 projects, research projects. And those research projects included about 7,300 different partnerships. And what it was projects to solve specific challenges of the business, or to improve their products, or to improve their processes. And those are extremely, extremely popular with people that use it, because what it does, not only do you solve the problem that you have as a business, but you have access to talent, because the students find the solutions to your problem. And what happens is that it generates gains, sometimes economic, sometimes social gains, because we also help the nonprofit sector with their issues, their problems. And just for 18-19, we produce about 4,000 new processes, new products, or new prototypes, or new services. And if I recall well, 87% of them were done in less than 1 year. And so this is extremely advantageous. And the best part is that the intellectual property stays with the company. We find the solutions, we help you to solve your problem, but we give you the intellectual property. And so this has been in use. I'll give you a recent example. Because of COVID, a number of companies had to pivot. And there were some that were doing distillery, alcohol. So quickly, we were able to help them to begin to develop hand sanitizer. And to do it in the best possible way where what would be produced would be recognized. There was a fellow that was helped by Collège La Cité because the idea that he had was to produce a sparkling maple water. So taking the sap, so the water from the maple tree, and to make it as a drink, but with no alcohol. And so he had the idea, he knew how to do it, but he didn't know how to get all the authorizations, from all the different entities that you need to consult when it is something about food. And so he approached Collège La Cité, and they help him to put it literally on the market and get all the authorizations, the authority to do so. And those things happen all the time. And they are fabulous stories. I'll finish with another one that was quite interesting. Of course, doing masks became very important for the business sector that was still meeting the public. And one of our college in British Columbia was approached to produce a mask because they said, oh, you have 3D equipment. Could you help us to produce more of those? And so the team over there at Camosum College looked at it and they thought, oh my God, it will take about 4 hours for each mask. And it will be quite costly to do it. So they asked the person, could we work with it for a couple of days and we'll come back to you? And so surely enough, they came back with a solution that is now being used across the country. And they were able to propose another solutions where the plastic was cut with a laser knife, and the rest is history. So there are many examples, and I always say to people, there's not a problem that cannot be solved. If you just approach one of our college, they will help you to find the solutions for the problem that you have, and it's always from idea to shelf. So no matter where in the process, and there's one college somewhere in the country that specializes in the niche or in the field that your product is all about.
Yeah, I definitely have to try out the sparkling maple water sometime.
It's very good,
Sounds so interesting. Yeah, okay, for sure. So if I were to approach a local college about some of our training needs, which department do we go to?
It depends. The first place I would go to is probably they always have what they called a corporate or a business unit that deals with what they called often corporate training. And sometimes it is in the continuing education shop, sometimes it is in another shop in the college. But if you look for keywords, corporate training, or if you look for continuing education, and if you approach someone, you explain what you want, they will send you to the right person, the right sector. It depends because each college, have it in a different shop sometimes.
Right. So I guess this is an obvious question that many businesses will probably ask before starting to work with any local college. Can I actually have this training available online with one of the online training providers like Lynda or their Skillshare, right? So there are many like online training providers right now. So Denise, how would you say these online trainings compare with the trainings that we will get from the local colleges?
That's a very good question. First, it will be tailor-made to your needs. Second, colleges have quickly turned around because of COVID, and they are able to offer almost everything online right now. I have to say that from a professional and technical education and training, when you talk about hands-on, it's more of a challenge, but our members have been quite creative, some using augmented reality or virtual reality. There's even one that have developed a complete program to do early child development with a virtual daycare to practice. And so our members are extremely, extremely creative. And so the big difference with the others is that ours also can provide, depending on which one you choose, credentials. And those credentials could be stackable, or they could be conducive to a certificate. And often, people, individuals, they would like to have the credentials or the paper because it could lead to another role, another job. And the advantage of those courses also, that when you approach your local college, they can be tailored to your specific local needs. If you live, in a certain area, a certain setting, maybe you're more in a rural area. So the examples that would be given would take into account your rural environment, or they would take into account the fact that you're more in a touristy area. So what are the opportunities or the advantages of that? So that's the big advantage, instead of having courses that, are developed, for no matter for whom, anywhere in the world, literally.
Denise, so when it comes to trainings, I guess there are two types of trainings that employees often need. Some are in skilled trades, people who are actually working in that area, and others are more knowledge-based. So would you say that the colleges actually have enough training available for both types of workers, or are they focusing a lot more on the skilled trades as opposed to the knowledge workers?
Okay, in fact, we have college courses, we have programs for all of the above, whether it is trades, whether it is knowledge workers, either we talked about data analytics, photonics, whether we talked about construction management, we literally cover all of them. And often people don't know. For example, that colleges, I was saying earlier, that we have courses that can be 1 hour to 1 day, 1 month, a year, 2 years, 3 years. It can also be degree. Many people do not know that colleges nowadays offer degrees. And those degrees have the same value as a university degree. That's why we always say to employers, please do not write university degree, but use post-secondary degree. Because if not, you cut yourself from a lot of very good hands-on potential employees. That's the first thing. And the only reasons we started to offer degrees was at the request of the industry. The industry asked us, in fact, could you please develop a program for those that may become the supervisors, or those that may become the chief or the specialist, if you want, to support the others. And so at their request, we started to offer degrees. Now there are thousands of degrees in the college system. And the second thing that the business sector asked us to develop, I told you we worked hand in hand with the business sector, it's what we called post-grad certificate. Post-grad certificate, it's very short, 8 months normally, sometimes 12, but most of the time 8 months. Very, very specific training in a specific field. So for example, and we did that at the request of the industry. Let's say you have someone that have a business degree or a business diploma. Many people have a business degree or a business diploma. But if suddenly you add to this 8 months in data analysis, now you become very marketable. And now your expertise become very much sought after. Add to this an 8 months in cybersecurity. Now suddenly you have expanded your field even more. And this is something that we did, again, as I said earlier, at the request of the employers. They asked us to do that. I'll give you another example. Someone may have studied in communications, but they are very interested in sustainable development or in environment. So they come with us, they do a short program, 8 months, and then it expands once more their potentials for job opportunities. And if you looked at our website, you will see thousands of those very cool, specific, short-term programs. We are even identifying those that you can take online. And so, and we have a lot of people taking them. And maybe to show you how lifelong learning is so important, the average age of our student is 27. Many people do not know about that. So if you think that because you're 40, 45, everybody will look at you and think, you know, who is that? No. Those are our learners. Those are the students we have in our classes.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So does colleges and institutes provide any services for businesses so that businesses can actually find the right courses or maybe find the right institutions that they can talk to for their training needs?
Absolutely. And if they don't have it, there's a lot of cooperations between colleges. So if they don't have it, they will send you to another institutions that will have it. And as I said, on our own website, we have the list of degrees, for example. We have the list of all postgrad certificates. And we even have a tool right now that where you can scrape, I think is the word that you use, where we can look at who is offering programs, for example, in aeronautical engineering, or who is doing a program, for example, with respect to constructions management. This is a cool example, and maybe I'll share this. It's a great story. There's someone from the company Bird Company, construction company. He felt that there was a big issue because it was hard to find managers in the construction. So people that knew about constructions, but that could become the manager. And so he approached a college. I think the first college to be approached was George Brown College in Toronto. And he explained what it was. And now I think we have 6 or 7 of our colleges that are offering this constructions management, which in fact is a degree in construction.
Right, right. Denise, is there anything else you'd like to add for our audience about professional development or ongoing training for employees?
What I would say, because one of your questions was earlier, if you're not sure, can you approach the college and ask? Nowadays, skills for success, or what we used to call the essential skills, or very important skills to have. And part of those skills are digital skills. And we certainly know that the pandemic showed the importance of digital skills. So if you feel that there is an area where your employees need support, but you're just not sure what, come at one of our college, have a conversations with the counselor, and they will be able to support you and develop something that will really help your employees to either upskill or reskill to make sure that they can better serve you, and at the end of the day, better serve the community where they are working and living.
Absolutely. Denise, we are towards the end of the podcast today, so I will end with 2 very quick questions for you. Can you share a personal habit that has contributed a lot to your success?
If my team would hear these questions, they would, I know what they would say, so I think I will share this. I have an habit, of course, when I meet people in person, to take their business card, and when I go back home at night, I write on the business card where I have met them, and if there's something special we talked about, and it's extremely, extremely useful. Because what happened, it serves to me as a reference when I meet that person again. And very often they think I have a fabulous memory. Because what I do after I transfer it, or I ask my assistant to transfer it on my iPhone, and so it's very, very useful. And so tell any person that I have met, at least in the last 15 years, I will have notes on my iPhone with their name, and if I meet them a second time, if it's just a 2 minutes, I may not use it. But if we had conversations about something specific, or even if it is something personal, I will write in my iPhone. And so this is my habit, and I have to say it has served me very, very well.
It's funny you say that, because I had started an Excel file to do just that, but then I stopped at a certain point. I should do it again. So one last question. Denise, one last question for you today. Can you share a strategy or a tool that makes you more effective in your work?
In fact, it's linked to my business cards habit, networking. I'm a big, big networker. I have given a session on networking, in fact, at one point also, and I love networking. I think it's a great way to put people together that have common interest, and I like to connect them, either just because I think they would be good to know each other, or they could do something together. So I would say networking.
All right. So Denise, how can people reach you if they have any question for you?
They can reach me. I'm on LinkedIn. Okay. And I would be pleased. Just say why you're contacting me and where you heard about me, because if not, I may not get back to you, or I may check who you are first. And you can reach me, of course, at the associations. It's D Amyot, AMYOT, at Colleges Institutes Canada, or collegesinstitute.ca. Yes. I would be...
That's fantastic.
Yes. And if you want me to put you in touch with one of our college, I would be pleased to do so.
Fantastic. Denise, thank you so much for your time today. It was great having you on our podcast.
It was a pleasure, Farhad. Anytime. See you soon. And don't forget to continue your Excel sheet. It's important.
Absolutely, I will. That was the interview with our guest today. I always learn quite a bit in our podcast interviews, and I hope you will be able to use some of the ideas in this episode for your organization soon. Once again, if you want to grow the membership of your professional association, do check out the workshops on our website at grype.ca/services. That is grype.ca/services. All right. I look forward to speaking to you in one of our future episodes. Bye for now.